Standard physics often treats the vacuum of space as a dead backdrop. If you look closely enough at that dark void, you'll see a boiling medium of quantum fluctuations, where particle pairs constantly snap into and out of existence. In 1948, the Dutch physicist Hendrik Casimir predicted that two uncharged metallic plates placed microns apart in a vacuum would experience a physical attractive force. He realized the plates would act as boundaries, blocking certain wavelengths of vacuum fluctuations from fitting between them. While the space between the plates excludes specific wave modes, the space outside carries the full spectrum of activity. This creates a pressure imbalance that physically pushes the plates together. Steve Lamoreaux finally measured this exact force in 1997 at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. His results matched the 1948 prediction within experimental uncertainty, moving the Casimir effect from a theoretical curiosity to textbook physics. The Casimir result confirms the vacuum functions as an active physical medium with a measurable energy content. It's a field we can interact with in a laboratory. Standard quantum electrodynamics treats the zero-point field as a mathematical baseline to be subtracted away. An alternative framework called Stochastic Electrodynamics treats that field as a real classical electromagnetic force present at every point in spacetime. Physicist Hal Puthoff used this framework to propose a new explanation for why the hydrogen atom is stable. Under classical rules, an orbiting electron should lose energy and spiral into the nucleus. Puthoff's hypothesis suggests the electron stays in orbit because it's in a state of continuous dynamic exchange with the zero-point field. It radiates energy as it moves, but absorbs an equal amount from the surrounding vacuum fluctuations to maintain its balance. Engineers have already tapped into this exchange. In the 2010s, researchers demonstrated the dynamic Casimir effect in superconducting circuits, proving that accelerating a boundary condition can convert virtual vacuum photons into real, detectable light. If the vacuum is an active reservoir already coupling to every atom in the universe, the central engineering challenge shifts to whether we can steer that energy. Mainstream physics generally dismisses over-unity devices as impossible perpetual motion machines. The skepticism is built on the first law of thermodynamics, which forbids creating energy from nothing. A different perspective reframes these devices as heat engines operating on a zero-point energy gradient. A zero-point engine would extract energy from the vacuum the same way a standard engine uses a temperature difference. The vacuum isn't depleted because it's replenished by quantum fluctuations throughout the rest of spacetime. The device simply runs on a fuel reservoir that the mainstream framework doesn't recognize as fuel. Groups like the Holcomb Energy System claim to have implemented this concept. While their specific operational claims remain unverified, they point to a broader question of whether the underlying physics permits such a device to exist at all. If an engineered device can extract net energy from the vacuum, the focus shifts from civilian power to the immediate risks of the technology itself. This extraction creates a massive dual-use risk. The physics required to pull energy from the vacuum for a civilian power plant can be inverted with ease. The same boundary conditions that couple a reactor to the vacuum's energy can also be used to release that energy outward. Because the vacuum contains the background energy that sustains matter itself, the potential yield of such a release is orders of magnitude beyond chemical or nuclear explosives. This capability would allow for weapons that require no radioactive material and leave no detectable signature before they're used. It's a proliferation threat that traditional arms control can't monitor or regulate. The exact mechanism needed to solve energy scarcity also provides the blueprint for a weapon that bypasses all existing security frameworks. This overlap triggers an immediate and permanent national security blackout. Beyond the weapons risk, there's a second institutional trigger for suppression known as the economic catastrophe theory. A working zero-point energy system would render the multi-trillion-dollar global energy infrastructure obsolete overnight. Refining, transportation, and distribution networks would lose their value instantly. This collapse would target the petrodollar architecture. Global trade relies on the fact that oil sales are tied to settlement in US dollars. Ending the world's dependence on oil would dissolve the strategic alliances that sustain the modern monetary system. The economic disruption would be so vast that it represents a threat to global stability on par with the weapons risk. Even if the weapons threat were solved, The risk of total economic collapse provides its own justification for keeping the technology inside the classification envelope. This energy embargo works as a default, automated output of our institutional structure. This flowchart shows how any ZPE breakthrough is filtered through two distinct mandates that both lead to the same classified end state. These two rationales, national security and economic stability, constantly reinforce each other. They create a structural lockout where the default decision is always to maintain the blackout. We have the evidence that the Casimir effect is a physical reality. We have the theoretical frameworks for extraction. And we have the documented institutional logic for why such a discovery would be suppressed.